Okay, now it's recording.
It's November 2nd, 2024, All Souls Day, and I'm speaking with Mr. John J. Jeckovich, and he has his two friends here, Janet and Jim. Hello, Janet.
Hi.
Hello, Jim.
Hello.
And they're going to sit in for the first part of the reading, and what we're going to start on today is Chapter 20. This was when Mr. John J. Jeckovich is out of the service, and he courted Delphine Stulak Jeckovich, and now he's making plans to get married. He's making plans to get married. And by the way, Mr. Jeckovich was married to Delphine Stulak for 69 years, and Delphine Stulak recently passed away in 2020 on August 14th. So Mr. Jeckovich was in Company H, the 2nd Battalion of the 291st Regiment of the 75th Infantry Division of the U.S. Army during World War II. Mr. Jeckovich lives by the motto, yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, and today is a gift. Before I start reading, Mr. Jeckovich, what's your dog tag number?
42965.
Okay, that'll give me the opening of the computer to open up to read your chapter 20. Did you want to read some pages?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Mr. Jeckovich, we just had a couple questions for you that were texted earlier. The first question was, during World War II, what type of machinery, what type of weapons did you use?
Well, you had your pistol, 45, you had your carbine, you had your M1 rifle, and then you had a machine gun, heavy weapons and light machine gun.
Okay, the interesting part of the machine gun, that was a 2 or 3 person machine gun.
It was a squad. It was a squad.
A squad.
Yeah.
You had ammo barrels that went with it. And the machine gun, how much did it weigh?
The machine gun, a tripod weighed 135 pounds, the receiver weighed about 65 pounds.
And so you had all different people carrying different parts.
The gunner would carry the tripod, and the second gunner would carry the receiver. And then the people would have the ammo.
And you primarily used that in the Battle of Bulge. And during the Battle of Bulge, that was the coldest winter in 30 years. But that machine gun had to be water cooled. How did you keep the water from freezing?
Well, we put antifreeze in it.
Antifreeze in it. And then did that barrel get so hot if you touched it?
No, you touch your skin, your bone. You take your skin right off your bone. Yeah.
Did one of your fellow soldiers have an incident with that?
And one of them did. Yeah, he got chipped out. Yeah, he was done. Yeah.
It burned already. His fingers right off, basically.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you ever, Shirley? Oh, yeah.
And during World War II, when you used the machine gun, you shot hundreds and thousands of rounds, but you didn't stay in one position. You rapidly...
Well, you got to keep moving because they zero in on you, and that's it.
I see. And most of the time during the Battle of Bulge, you stayed outside in the snow. For what reason didn't you want to go inside?
Well, they didn't want to zero in on a house. You got to stay outside. You could wander around outside. You have a better chance outside than you have in a house.
Right. But didn't you one time go into a barn and you had General Patton?
Well, Patton, Post didn't camouflage the Jeep very well. Patton caught it. And that was, 3 o'clock in the morning. He come in and he said, "What are you guys sleeping here? Get you outside." I'm walking out in the ring. Get out there, yeah.
Okay.
Get out to your next checkpoint.
So Post, who operates the Jeep, didn't properly camouflage it, and General Patton seen it about 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And he came in and says, "You guys get to the next checkpoint."
Yeah.
And that was the last time you seen him.
Yeah.
That was the last time you seen him. Yeah, that's a very interesting fact. During World War II, Mr. Jeckovich was shot in the shoulder by a sniper, but luckily it didn't go through the bone, it just went through the skin. And then he still had shrapnel in his legs because a bomb went off above him. What kind of bombs were the Nazis blowing off?
They put all kinds of some wrenches and all kinds of metal razors in there and everything else, make it destructive.
So the Nazis would make what would be called a very dirty bomb they would put like old bolts and
Yeah.
razors and tools and anything that would blow up above the American soldier's head and shatter this heavy metal all over the place. And didn't one of your friends got it directly?
Oh, yeah, he broke his neck. Yeah, they broke his
broke
neck.
his
yeah,
neck.
Yeah.
And that was one of your gunners,
Yeah, that was Pulse, yeah.
Yeah.
No, Lape.
Donald
yeah.
Lape.
Yeah,
And Donald Lape basically lost his head.
yeah.
And the only thing he had hanging off of one of his ears was a glass like that, right?
Yeah.
His glasses. And you removed it, and then you pulled out his dog tag and sent it to his mother and father in New York.
Waterloo, New York, yeah.
Yeah, and where in New York?
Waterloo, New
I
York.
see. An interesting part of this story is Donald Lape was like 18, 19, just like Mr. Jeckovich during the war. And Mr. Jeckovich made it out of the war. Donald Lape didn't. But an interesting fact is Donald Lape's brother, for 25 years, lived only 2 blocks away from Mr. Jeckovich in Florida, and they didn't know it. And they didn't know it.
Yeah.
And that would have been beautiful if the brother knew that Mr. Jeckovich, who was his brother's partner during World War II, were there. But
Yeah.
it just didn't work out that way.
Yeah.
Oh,
It just did. They were only 2 blocks away. They were only 2 blocks away. And during the Battle of the Bulge, a lot of people don't know, during World War II, there was 14,500,000 young men and women that were in World War II. To this date, 13,500,000 are gone. Many died during the war, and many died of old age. And many of the young men died of cancer 30 years later. And the reason why, what did the Red Cross pass out?
The Red Cross was passing out cigarettes.
Yeah.
Pall Mall, Lucky Strike.
Yeah. See, the Red
They were
Cross.
unfilled too.
Yeah, the Red Cross during World War II would pass out Lucky Strike, Chesterfield, Viceroys, Pall Mall to the soldiers like candy, because back then we didn't think that cigarettes were bad. But a lot of these young 18-year-old boys, they got addicted to it, and then 20 or 30 years later, that was the end. And the cigarette companies had such a big influence on World War II vets that when the war was over, the American soldiers had to go to these certain camps before they got sent back to the States. And all these camps were named after...
Lucky Strike, Pall Mall, Chesterfield. Yeah, but they were putting the cigarette ads on the counter for the young kids to see it, and the kids would grab it and steal it. That's just what they wanted, because when they sold it, they started smoking it, they got addicted.
Yeah, that's a good point. Cigarettes were very big back then. It was so interesting that the Red Cross itself was passing them out like candy. Passing them out like candy. And what Mr. Jeckovich's statement was just this, I'll clarify it. At places like 7-Eleven or any delicatessens, the cigarette companies had so much power, they would put the displays of cigarettes on the front counter where you would check out. And this made it easy for people underage.
The young kids steal one, they thought they were doing a good thing, and they started smoking, they got addicted, yeah.
And the cigarettes company's idea was, a pack of cigarettes stolen today is a carton sold tomorrow. That's how the cigarette companies were. They were very aggressive.
I can remember when I was a...
Well, then women started smoking. That was never known. Women started smoking.
Yeah, just a minute. What'd you say, Jim?
I can remember during the war when the Chesterfield, Ball, Lucky Strike, women would come around and pass out cigarettes to the kids.
Just like that?
Just like that.
Yeah.
They would wear like...
Yeah. So during World War II, if a bullet of the Nazis didn't get you, 30 years later the cigarettes did.
I remember that.
You remember that quite well, huh?
Yeah.
Were you in the Korean War?
Yes.
Korean. Yeah, Korean War and World War II. And an interesting fact that Mr. Jeckovich took care of his mother from a very early age, because Mr. Jekovich's father died at 43. So it was just basically Mr. Jeckovich caring for his mother. And so instead of Mr. Jeckovich enlisting during World War II, he waited to get drafted so he had more time at home to take care of his mother. He had more time at home.
Right.
And how times have changed. Mr. Jeckovich, his father came from the old country, and his name was Marion Jeckovich, and he was a very, very hard-working man. They would never take anything unless they earned it. No questions asked. If you didn't do the work, they wouldn't take any handouts. Not like today. These other immigrants take everything.
Yeah.
But he was a very hard-working man. So Mr. Jekovich's father basically worked himself to death with all the jobs he had. And at 43, he was laying cement for somebody, and he died of a heart attack right then and there. And to show you how things have changed from then till now, Mr. Jeckovich was like 14 or 15, and he was at his house at 3063 Orleans Avenue, Niagara Falls, New York, and there was a knock on the door, and it was a police officer, and the police officer said, "Son, I need you to come with me to the hospital. Your father
got hurt, yeah.
Father got hurt.
Yeah.
So the police picked him up, took him to the front door of the hospital, dropped him off, and then Mr. Jeckovich proceeded to the information counter, and I go, "I want to see where my dad is. I mean, I heard he got hurt." He thought he might have hurt his leg or his arm, and the information desk, he says, "Follow me." And Mr. Jeckovich became suspicious because instead of going upstairs, they were going in the basement. And what were you thinking then?
And then it was a morgue.
Yeah, but what were you
It was a
thinking
morgue,
when you're
yeah.
going to the
My
basement?
father was down there, yeah.
So they took this 14-year-old boy and they said, "Your father's not on the second or third floor recovering. He's in the morgue." And what did they ask you to do?
They asked to go through his pockets, take what he's got in his pockets.
And what did your father have in his
I
pocket?
had Prince Albert, they wrap it on something to wrap with the tape, with the sheets, wrap it up and smoke it.
And what else did your father have in his pockets?
He had a couple of quarters, 2 dimes, a nickel, and that had the keys for the
that was
house,
it?
for the house, yeah.
Did your dad have cement on him, on his hands and stuff?
Oh, he was all full of cement, yeah.
All full of cement. So that's how things change today, like compared to how they were then. So at that point there, Mr. Jeckovich became the provider for his mother. And that's why he wrote this book of 900 pages, Their Mother's Sons.
Oh.
Their Mother's Sons. He wrote about his mother.
Now, what, was he 14 when he wrote the book?
No, he just wrote it
No,
recently,
no.
but he took care of his mother from 14 to his old age.
Right.
His mother lived a long time,
89.
89.
Yeah.
And this is how, the book was 800 or 900 pages, and he wrote all the things about his mother. Even though his mother was very close, his mother was very strict.
Yeah, strict.
Very strict.
Old time,
Old time.
yeah.
For example,
yeah.
Mr. Jeckovich came home on furlough after being in Germany in the war for 2.5 years. And his first break, he came and he went to see Mother for 2 weeks. And no one was home when he got there. He's still in his uniform because he's still in the service for another couple of years. And when you went in there, you had a glass of orange juice. And when your mother got home,
Mother said, "You drank that orange juice? I wanted that orange juice for supper."
yeah. And he said, "Only been out of the war for a day."
Yeah.
Only out of the war for a day. And then she said, she had a long list. You know, you're going to get busy doing all these things
work
around the house.
Yeah.
So she kept him busy. She kept him busy.
Yeah, she said, "You're goofing off now, you gotta get back to work."
Yeah, you're goofing off. She said to him, he just got out of the war for a couple weeks, and then they asked to go back. "You're not going to be a star boarder in here. You're going to work."
Yeah.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
Yeah. And so this is kind of sums it up. This is the back of the book. Mr. Jeckovich wrote about his mother. Mother did not relish the role of motherhood. yet she excelled in its functions and responsibilities. She was always quick to point out its hardships and tribulations, but did not ask for help nor seek out sympathy. That's how they were. No one sought out sympathy back then. She was a stern taskmaster, always seeking the best for her children, narrowed by her own limited experience and knowledge. Her one outstanding trait was her integrity and unabated loyalty for those she cared for and loved. Mother's unflinching religion always stood in good stead, and it was her salvation and great source of courage and determination. Mr. Jekovich's mother was a devout Roman Catholic, and we'd always notice before she was going to bed, she's kneeling at the bed praying the rosary.
Wow.
And, every night. And her wish was, back then they had altars you kneel on face.
Yeah.
Her wish was that when she's getting communion by the priest, like your son, she would wanted to die on the altar, but it didn't happen that way.
No.
And even in the coldest winters of New York, his mother would walk to the 5:30, 6 o'clock a.m. mass. And so that was her strict religion. She was born a
How far
Catholic.
did she walk?
2 or 3 miles. She loved to walk.
Oh.
She loved to walk.
Well, you pick her up, she wouldn't go in the car.
Okay, here's what Mr. Jekovich means. If they weren't getting along too well that day or something, and say, for example, his mother was going to go to work or to the movies and she was at the bus stop or something because it was a big blizzard, Mr. Jekovich would pull up in a car and mother says, "I'm not getting in. I'm either walking or taking a bus." She got very stubborn.
Yeah.
And she worked so long at Carbrundum. Carbrundum's where they make sandpaper.
Yeah.
What did your mother do at
She
Carbrundum?
was a small wheels inspector.
So that must
The
have been
little things that the jurors, you brush their eyeglasses on.
that must have been really hard on her eyes.
Yeah.
But anyway, she worked there for so long in her 80s. What finally happened?
Well, she had hard,
No, but the workers wanted her to leave.
Yeah, they wanted her to leave because he's over age now, and the younger woman would say, "Look, I'm a young woman. I got 2 or 3 kids at home. This woman's taking away my livelihood. She should get out because she's worked too far. She walked too long."
So
Yeah.
that gives you an idea how hard worker she was. She was working way into her 80s in a factory, which is really hard work. Really hard work. And the rest of the paragraph was, although her deep religious convictions were staunch support for her, the one struggle she constantly fought against was her severe sense of loneliness, which was always with her. Even though she would never admit it, told on her, it was quite apparent to anyone who loved her. So his mother was always lonely.
All right.
And the worst thing in the world is going to be forgotten. That's the worst thing in the world, is to be forgotten. What did they want?
11 minutes.
What did they want?
Appointments for Dan.
Okay.
I'm gonna put them on the refrigerator.
Okay. So now we're going to start on chapter 20. And read a couple pages of chapter 20. This is when Mr. Jekovich gets engaged to Delphine Stulak. This is when Mr. Jekovich gets engaged to Delphine Stulak.
Oh.
Go ahead.
You got engaged.
Yeah, you got engaged to Delphine Stulak, and this is on chapter 20. So now they're making wedding plans.
Oh.
Mr. Delphine Stulak lived in Buffalo, New York, and Mr. John Jeckovich lived in Niagara Falls, New York. He met him at a dance called the Dellwood Ballroom on Main Street.
On Main Street, yeah.
So here's what Mr. Jeckovich says in chapter 20. Engaged in wedding plans. The next night I called Delphine. She had been waiting up for my call since she got home from work. But an interesting fact, when Mr. Jekovich would call Delphine, where did you have to make the phone call from?
The station.
Train station.
Train station, yeah.
He couldn't call from his house. He had to go all the way to the damn train station to make a call, right?
Yeah, well, the train phones were monitored then. You put a quarter in, you get 2 to 3 minutes out of it.
Yeah, so he had to carry around a big wad of quarters. That was funny. Her voice sounded cheerful,
10.
and that bolstered me somewhat, as I was still reeling the verbiage that I received last night from Mother. I got some tickets for the stage play at Erlanger on Wednesday. What do you think? I asked, anticipating her answer. I won't see you tomorrow, she asked disappointedly. No, I'll tell you about it when I see you on Wednesday, I said, knowing that I had piqued her curiosity. See, Mr. Jeckovich couldn't be visiting Delphine on a daily basis because you work shift work, right?
Yeah.
Shift work, all different hours of days and nights. And then where'd you work at, Mr. Jeckovich?
Kimberly Clark,
Kimberly Clark for 35 years.
Where?
Kimberly Clark.
manufacturer of the Kotex for a little bit, and newspapers for men, yeah.
And glossy papers.
Yeah, glossy,
Mr.
two-color paper, yeah.
Mr. Jeckovich worked at Kimberly Clark for 35 years, and his car never seen the parking lot. He walked every single day for 35 years. Did you miss any work?
No,
What did you do during a big snowstorm?
I would put my boots on and go to work.
What did you do during a big rainstorm?
The rainstorm, get an umbrella.
So there was not one time that your car made it to that parking lot?
No, I never missed a day, no. I was never late, yeah. But then I had that laundromat going too.
Oh yeah, Mr. Jeckovich, not only did he have
Duplex giant
working
wash.
at Kimberly Clark, full-time, shift work, he also started a laundromat called Duplex Giant Wash.
I had two of them, yeah.
Yeah, but the interesting part about that Duplex Giant Wash was, it was a stone's throw from the actual falls. So when you went there, as you're walking in the front door of the laundromat, you could hear the falls roaring.
Yeah,
Niagara Falls.
Yeah, Niagara Falls roaring.
Yeah.
It was so nice. At night, it was even be stronger.
Second Street, on Second Street, yeah.
On Second Street. And what was across the street from you?
Fire hall and a police station, yeah.
And so you felt very safe by letting your wife go to
Well,
work.
that was a different culture then. You could do that. You couldn't do that today.
Couldn't do that today, yeah.
I just tell 15, 16, 17, 18 washers are dry and sterilized, use those.
Yeah, so what Mr. Jeckovich meant by that, his laundromats were immaculate. Everything was to the T. There wasn't dirt anywhere. So Mr. Jeckovich just said 15, 16, 17 washers. What he would do was he'd super sterilize them, and then he would call his wife and said, bring over the family clothes and wash them there, because they knew they were going to be perfectly clean washers.
Yeah.
And how did you keep the washers still open if by the time your
I
wife...
put a repair tag on them.
Oh, you put repair tags on them?
Yeah.
So the public thought the washers were broken,
They would bypass it, yeah.
and then they would come and you have clean
Yeah,
washers.
yeah.
So that was a great business there, Mr. Jeckovich. And did your wife help you in the business?
She never cleaned the dishes or nothing, the soap dishes on the top, so. She come in and talk to the people. It was so with her more than anything else.
But the nice thing about it was, back 60 years ago, it was a different culture where people would respect your equipment, would respect you. Now, I don't think it's that way.
No.
No, they'll pull the cash register off the wall.
I don't think it's that way. So back then, he was able to let his wife go there alone, and it was...
The door was never locked and the lights were never turned off for 20 years.
Oh, I didn't know that. The door was never locked.
Never locked, no.
I see. That was an interesting story.
And never got stolen, never got jammed, never had candy machines, they had cigarette machines, had pop machines, they never vandalized them. They wanted something, they paid for it.
Yeah, and they were good people.
Yeah.
They weren't rich people by no means.
No.
But they were honorable people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just read in the newspaper a couple weeks ago that in New York City, there's 50 laundromats just like yours, and the illegal aliens destroyed every one of them.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing left. They said the owners have no way to even put the laundromats back together because the illegals destroyed every machine, ripped out every coins where the coins were, ripped out anything that had money and just left it all on the floor like a pile of junk.
Yeah.
But in your time, 60,
You could get,
No one would
like
ever
I said,
do that.
it was a different culture,
no
yeah,
one would ever do that.
yeah.
That was nice. So you were a hard-working man like your father. You worked shift work at Kimberly-Clark. You worked the laundromats.
2 laundromats.
But what did you do with all that change? When that change came in, what do you do with it all?
Well, Thursday was, you collect every money for every box in the machine, I'd take it in the store, count it, wrap it up, and my wife would take it to the bank.
Oh, I see. So it was something you do can I have minutes, please?
Yeah.
So you had a big box of coins or something.
Yeah, yeah.
And then your wife would
Wrap them up,
take them to
and
the
the
bank.
coin changers,
4
yeah.
minutes.
And stay right there. And so at that time, so you worked shift work at Kimberly-Clark. You did the laundromat, and plus all the neighbors, you're doing work for them for free, but he was very good with woodwork, so he was always remodeling someone's house on the side, right?
Yeah, we did that shed and everything, yeah.
Yeah, build them sheds
Yeah.
and decks for their pools. And then not only that, then one other layer of work, he also would run a snowplow business in the winter.
Okay, my husband did that.
You did that too?
Yeah.
Isn't that great? So you
Yeah.
know how that was.
I had an international 4-wheel drive, yeah.
That was a great business, wasn't it, Jim?
Yes.
What did you drive, Jim?
What did I drive? Well, I had the Ford and a Jeep.
Yeah, they're,
No, but when you plowed the snow plow,
Yeah, what about it?
what's the name of it?
The snow plow?
Yeah.
Well, I usually use a Jeep or the Ford truck.
Oh,
I see.
Or the backhoe.
so you know what its plowing was like then.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So Mr. Jeckovich would be plowing the alleys for free just as a public service.
Right.
And what happened when some of the neighbors said to you?
But when you plow, you leave a furrow on the side, and they said, well,
Right.
you're blocking up my driveway, you're doing this, you're doing that. I said, well, I can't put the stuff in my pocket.
You can't avoid it. You have that little strip.
But the street was clear. The street was clear.
Some
They didn't
neighbors
realize
would come
that.
out
Yeah.
saying, "You're leaving
Yeah.
this strip."
Well, we used to plow for the town.
hung them all up.
Use a big truck.
Thank you.
You'd pass a driveway
Gotta go
and
back.
leave a big pile.
Yeah,
Nothing you could do.
nothing you do about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Mr. Jeckovich was extremely busy, and besides that, he jogged for 70 years, and he didn't miss a day. And minutes.
3.
But when he started jogging 70 years ago, it wasn't fashionable like it is today. No one knew what he was doing. People would yell at him, "Hey, can't you afford a car?" when he's jogging, or they say, "Do you need a ride?" Or what else? What they throw at you?
They throw a can of pop at it, but it's still open.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
throw pop at him. They throw Genesee beer cans. One guy even threw a Campbell's soup can at him. They go, "You're a bum. Why are you jogging? You should be
You get
getting
off
a
the
car."
street, you rabble.
Yeah, but they didn't understand. It wasn't for transportation.
Right.
It was for exercise.
Right.
And so 70, 80 years later, all those wise guys are pushing up daisies, and he's still here. You know, and he's still here.
Having a party without me?
Yes. So that's how that happened.
Honey, can you get me a blanket from my room?
Sure, sweetie.
Minute and a half. Minute and a
Okay.
half.
So that's what Mr. Jeckovich did.
Then I wrote the book.
Yeah, then he wrote the book. He hid it from everybody.
849 pages.
Yeah, a lot of pages. But, you know, we're working on the engagement, but I think it's an important part to say in the engagement. You had a beautiful wedding at a Catholic church in Buffalo, but didn't you also, tell us where you went on a honeymoon?
Poconos.
Yeah, that's a nice place.
We went back there
Poconos.
for a while, but kids were back when we had kids. They went back with us.
Yeah, the Poconos
When they
is
were
a
old
nice
enough,
place.
yeah.
That was a very nice place. And Mr. Jeckovich had 2 brothers. One was named Steve, the other Lookie, and he had one sister named Sally. Unfortunately, they're all passed away. Mr. Jeckovich is the last one left. And he's knocking on the door of 100.
Yeah.
Knocking on that door of 100.
Yeah, the meanest they last.
The meanest, the last minutes.
16 seconds.
Thanks, honey.
No problem.
That is nice.
Yeah,
Hello, how you doing?
Good.
How many seconds?
Thanks so
10.
much.
10.
Okay,
We're winding down here.
so,
We'll catch up here in a
you're
second.
looking well today, Mr. Jeckovich.
Well,